Hello, everyone. I am Candice Dickens, dope black therapist, and I am here with the amazing, wonderful, outstanding, remarkable, life changer, Miss Angela Wharton, founder of Phynyx Ministries. How are you, my good friend?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, wait a minute, she talking
Of course, of course. Who
about me? I,
else?
I give God all the glory, but I am wonderful and I am super duper excited to be here with you, my good friend. It's been a while since we did some work together, so I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yes. So, for those who don't know, I met Angela maybe 5 years ago
Yep, about five
at
years ago.
the Empowerment Temple Church when you were doing the Phoenix Ministries. You still are doing Phoenix Ministries,
Yes,
but
yes.
you were introducing the group, the organization, and it was at your church. And it was such an amazing experience to see all these women line up and share their experience and really giving a face to what it means to be a survivor
Yeah.
to sexual trauma. So I want you to talk to us about sexual trauma, sexual abuse, restoration, all of that stuff. Wherever you want to start.
So, well, I guess I will start with my story.
Okay.
And so at the age of 14, I was sexually assaulted at the hands of the man that my mom was dating at the time, who was attempting to um, groom me for what we now call sex trafficking. But back in 1986, we called it childhood prostitution.
Mm.
So he came to the house, and now he knew that my mom worked the 3 to 11 shift, so it was just myself and my little brother there at that time, and it was about somewhere around 9 p.m. or something like that.
Mhm.
And at the time my brother was 4 years old, and that made me 14. And so he talked about how he knew that I wanted to get my hair done, and I wanted to buy the Jordache jeans, and I wanted the Mia boots and all these things. And because my mom was a single mother who worked so hard to take care of her two kids, he knew that my mom we didn't have much money. And he knew that our gas and electric would be turned off, telephone would be disconnected and things like that. So he proposed to me how I could make up to $500 a night
Mm.
by having basically phone sex
Oh wow.
with grown men. And so that wasn't something that I was interested in doing. But then he kept talking about how much money I can make and how I could buy these things and how I could also help my mom with the bills. And, I thought about it. I was like, oh, I could help my mom. I not see how she's struggling. And I would like to get that good tilt head. Do you remember the good kind of like what your hair is? Yep,
Do I
neck.
have one with the big gold earrings and the silver ones? Yes.
Yep, yep. And we had the
Yes.
stacks of layered
Hmm.
hair. I wanted my hair like that, all of that.
Hmm.
And so then I said, okay. And he said, good, good, good. So now I just need a sample of you
Oh wow.
to take back to my manager to make sure that you're a good fit for the position.
Wow. And what do you remember thinking when he was saying that to you? What do you remember as a girl?
Yeah. So I remember just thinking, a sample? What do you mean? A sample? Like it didn't dawn on me, like not
Yeah.
in that moment
Yeah.
until he
Absolutely.
said, well, we can just go down to your room and we'll sleep together really quickly, and then I'll get the sample. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And see, he's a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 14-year-old girl,
Yeah.
so he already had it. Like it was already pre-calculated what he was
Whole
gonna do.
agenda. Had a
Yeah,
whole. Yeah.
yeah, he already knew. He knew that my mom had this 14-year-old girl at the house that he would see when he came to see her. And so he plotted his attack, if you will. And so he kept pushing and prodding and pushing and prodding about the money and,
Mm-hmm.
persuading me with the money and all. And I was like, well, okay.
Yeah. He saw you wore you down a little bit. So
Yeah,
when
yes.
Luke talks about that with her brother, how he was wearing her down, giving her candy, seducing her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And after a while, the firm no becomes, maybe, or maybe it's
Yeah.
not so bad, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So then we get down to my room in the basement, and how did he know where I slept? So that just tells you
Mm.
again that he was
Yeah.
plotting and he had been watching me. And so we get down to my room, and this man takes off all of his clothes
Mm.
and gets in my little twin size bed. And I'm standing on the side of the bed, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This is not right. I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to do this. And then he's just like, just come on, it'll be real quick. It'll be real quick. I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So then after much persuade and wearing me down, I
Mm-hmm.
get in the bed with all of my clothes on. This man rolls on top of me and pulls my pants open. I don't know if you remember back in the day when we had the pants that had the zipper, like the dress pants had the zipper on the side and the buttoned on the side and then
Yeah.
the on the front. So I had like a pair of those pants on. I remember he just like ripped them apart and down
Mm.
and just proceeded to
Monster.
enter me, if you will. And I don't know if we have young ears watching and listening. But then I began to fight. Like, no, get off of me. I don't want to do this. Get off of me. No. And I'm trying to fight him off of me, and he would not
Mm.
get off of me, would not stop until I said, if you don't get off of me, I'm going to scream rape.
Mm. So at 14, you knew what this was. That
Yes,
this was
at this
rape.
point.
Right. So
At
you
this
knew it, and you knew there was power in your voice.
Yeah.
And your mother wasn't home. It was just you and him with this monster. Oh wow.
And my brother was upstairs in my mom's bed sleeping.
Yeah.
And he was
He was a
4 years
baby. He was 4.
old. Yeah. And so at that point, he just jumped up and he said, rape? How are you going to
Mm.
scream rape when you let me in here? You let me come down to your room. You let me into your bed. Like, you see how he turned everything back around
It's
on
your
me?
fault. And that's the shame, right? It's your fault. You
It's
must have let
my
me,
fault.
right? It's your fault. And at that age through 14, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the breasts are there and the hips are there. And people think, well, she looks like a woman, but that's when people stop seeing the innocence, and all they
Yes.
see is womanhood happening in your body. And for a
Yes.
lot of pedophiles who are in a relationship with a parent, it could be a male parent or a female parent, they know that the mother or the other parent will look at you and think, well, maybe she wanted this. And she's
Yeah.
fast anyway. Or they'll believe him because of the relationship. But if you were
Yes.
younger, 5, people more likely to believe a 5-year-old because, like, this is a
Mhm.
baby. There are no breasts, no hips. How could you do that? But
Yeah.
once you age are up, right,
Mhm.
couples stay together. And which is why 1 in
Yeah.
9 girls get violated, 1 in 53 boys get violated. That
Yes.
because of that same shame. Because when I have clients who are males, and the person will say, "You gonna tell people that I raped you?
Mhm.
What are they gonna think about you? You think
Yeah.
you're a punk? You're gonna think you this. You're gonna think that, right?" And there's that shame. Like it must have been my fault. There's something bad about me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And once I said that, once he started turning everything around on me, the doorbell rang, and he's like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And it was a friend of mine who was coming to visit, and I jumped up and put my clothes back on as best that I could, ran up the stairs, opened the door, and Candice, when I tell you that this man put all of his clothes on just like that,
Mm.
and as I opened the door to let my friend in, he walked out like
Mm.
nothing had happened. I was like, okay, I see you. Like nothing had just happened,
But everything had happened,
but
and
everything
everything had happened.
had happened in that
Yeah,
moment.
absolutely. You were wrong.
Yeah. And so
And just
I
take a
didn't
break for a
tell.
second. Take a break. Because here's the
Yeah.
thing: when we tell a story, and
Yeah.
when we tell a story, we live a story, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and what people don't realize is that when you have trauma, especially sexual trauma, and you live it, while you're going through it, I'm like, oh my God, I can feel it in my chest. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you to take a break. as you proceed, because you gotta let the body know that you're not in the experience now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
Because that
That's
was
exactly what's happening because you see the
oh,
self-soothing.
oh, I see it. I
I
see the
know.
self, right? Because sometimes, and people don't realize that when we're in trauma, we have an experience, that experience shows up in the body, and we got to self soothe to calm the
Yeah,
body down, to take the breath.
yeah,
Because pedophiles and manipulators, they look to find the child alone.
they
They
do.
study this child or
Yeah,
young adult, they study them, and they
yep,
wait for moments like this,
yeah,
right? Where they can pounce. And for people watching this, they too are activated. I'm saying to them as well, take a breath. If you got a rock, do a hold, do a hold. Put your
hmm
feet on the ground. Know that you are here and you are not alone. There are
yeah.
tons of people watching this,
hmm
right?
And you are
You
safe.
didn't, oh, you're safe, and you didn't deserve this, and they didn't deserve
No,
this. So
not at
whenever
all.
you're ready, you can begin, but we begin on your terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I never told my friend because he asked me. He was like, "What's wrong with you? Like something's not right." And I was like, "No, I'm just tired. I'm just tired." And that was it. And as I walked to school the next day with one of my best friends, we're still best friends to this day. I
Mhm.
told her what had happened. Um, and of course, she felt a little guilty because, she wasn't there and that sort of thing. But I told her it
Mhm.
wasn't her fault. Um, and then we walked to school, and that was basically it at that point.
Mhm.
But I did find myself falling into what I know now was a deep depression because I just stayed in my room, the same bed that this violation took place, the same room that this violation took place. I would go to school and come home from school and go into my room in the basement and just stay there and stay. I would not come out. I would just lay in the bed. And I
Mhm.
didn't know that I was depressed. I had no idea. Um,
Mhm.
but there did come a point, some of the listeners may be wondering if I ever told my mom,
Yeah.
but there did come a point where I tried to tell my mom. So, somewhere, maybe a few weeks later, after this had all taken place, I remember coming out of the basement to out of my room to go into the kitchen to grab a drink of water. And my mom was in there frying chicken or making dinner or something. And after I got the water and I closed the door, I said, "Mom, whatever happened to Mr. So and so? I
Mhm.
noticed that he doesn't come around anymore." And I guess she didn't really hear me or something. I don't know. But she, you know how moms do. She like turned around, I was like, "Child, what you say?" And I was like, "I was just asking about Mr. So and so. I noticed that he doesn't come around anymore. Whatever happened to him?" And she was just like, "I don't know." And then she just, swung back around and finished frying the chicken or cooking or whatever she was doing. But I wanted so bad in that moment for her
Yeah.
to ask me, "Why are you asking about him? Did something happen?"
Yeah.
I just needed that window. I just needed just a little crack, but I didn't get it. And so I held it.
We held it inside. And we know that when we hold it, it doesn't go away. We carry it with us
We
and
do.
it becomes the burden, right? And we carry that into relationships. We carry that into the behavior. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I turned into an angry teenager and didn't understand
Mhm.
why I was so angry.
How did the anger show up? Yelling, acting out,
Yeah.
fighting.
Yep. It showed up as yelling at my brother because, he was younger. So I was constantly yelling at him because I had to take care of him all the time because my mother was always at work, the 3 to 11 shift. And so I yelled at him constantly. I yelled at my friends. I yelled at people at school. I was quick to fly off the handle. I
Mhm.
didn't really get into many fights because I had a loud bark.
Okay.
Small as I was. So
Baltimore. I know, but
yes.
but you can talk. Ah, la, la, la. But
Yes.
that energy, right? It's protective
Yes.
energy. And people don't realize that this is me trying to protect myself from something
Yes.
happening again where I'm vulnerable, violated, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
But all
exact.
they see is the behavior. and they don't see
Yeah.
what's behind the behavior. So they didn't realize that this is how you're protecting you.
Yeah. Yep. I was very controlling,
Mm.
and I did not realize that until one day somebody pointed it out to me. And then I started doing this work as well. And I
Mm.
realized that this is like a symptom of the trauma. Because if I can control everything, if I know who's coming, who's going, where we're going, what we're doing, who's going to
Mhm.
be there, if I know where all the exits are, the doors are, I'll feel safe.
Yeah.
So everybody has to do what I want to do, because that way I can control the situation. And my friends did not like that. And at
Mm.
that point, I didn't care because I had to
Mhm.
protect me.
Absolutely.
Now I know. I didn't know that back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time um, just being angry, full of rage. Um, I was also very promiscuous
Acting,
because, yeah,
acting out.
as a symptom. And I didn't know at the time that that was also a symptom of,
Mm-hmm.
sexually violated. I did not
Mm-hmm.
know. And so then as time went on, we fast forward 10 years, and I end up being raped at gunpoint in
Mm.
the woods behind the apartment building that I lived in
Pause
at the
again.
time.
Take a breath. Take a breath again. You're rushing into an experience. And I just want to, I'm going to
Yeah,
intentionally pause you, which is why I'm saying to everyone, when you tell a
yeah,
story fast, the body has to catch up.
yeah,
The body's on
yeah,
fire because it thinks you're in it, because with the story comes a memory. So I'm going to
yeah,
interrupt you by saying that for a lot of girls and boys who become promiscuous, it's their attempt to get back their value, and they get to choose, right? The first
yes.
time it's taken from me, I get to choose. But also for a lot of children who weren't sexual, that part of the brain that sexualized comes
Mhm,
online faster than it's supposed to. So when you
mhm.
have, I've had clients who were 6 or 7 and they're at home masturbating, putting things in their anus or masturbating, and that's not supposed to be on until the hormones kick in during adolescenthood or pre-adolescenthood. But once that nerve is on, you can't turn that off.
Yeah.
And for a 14-year-old, they didn't like what happened. So they made a decision that'll never happen again. That happens on my terms.
Mhm.
Or they didn't like what happened for some younger children, but they like the way it made them feel. And they're going
Yeah.
for that feeling. So they're ashamed about it happening and they're ashamed about their feelings. So they do it secretly or in ways that dishonor them. So for parents and people out there who are looking back at your own behavior, or your child's behavior, or your siblings' behavior,
Mhm.
look to see what happened to them. If
Yes.
they weren't like that prior to 4 years ago, something happened and it's showing up in the body and the choices, right?
Yeah.
Where they want to be seen and they want to matter. And for
Yeah.
a lot of people, I matter when someone chooses me. Oh, he likes me, she likes me, brings up my value, because when you violate me, as Yolanda Band said, when you violate a girl, you take away, or boy, you take away their value and their sense of worth. And they spend a whole lifetime trying to chase the worth and the value. So if you're ready, you can continue from there. Just want to give
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. 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 Like this, this is like therapeutic for me as well. I love it. I
Because I
love
know
it.
black therapists matter. Don't black
That's right.
therapists.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because as I'm talking to you, I'm also talking to them because part of the journey work for me is really teaching people how to manage the symptoms that show up because of what happened to you. So as
Yeah.
I'm pausing you, I want to always pause people and take a breath before you begin another part of anything that's been painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And,
say in
and
college,
yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna say this is good for me to just take a breath,
yeah.
because I'm a speaker and I tell my story all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just go right into it.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
in this setting with you and I can actually pause because I'm not on a time limit, right?
No, we're not a time limit.
Okay.
No, we're not.
So
I'm
I,
just saying.
if I, I
That's
can actually
cool. Go ahead.
pause. So so and that's another question I'll save for later too. Like, why is it that most of, well, you can answer it now or later, but why is it that most of us have multiple um, experiences? Because for me, I've had multiple, and I know others who've had multiple.
Yeah.
Is it that what is it? I don't know.
It's a couple of things that people pick up on energy. Like I can be around someone and I'm like, ooh, this person's having a bad day. People pick up on energy. And
Mm-hmm.
people who are violators pick up on something about violation with you. And
Mm,
sometimes we pick up on the people who look just like people who violated us.
yeah.
Right? Like I've had several hair colors, several hairstyles, but it always goes back to a part on the side. And I don't go saying, I'm gonna have a part on the side. It just happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go shopping and I'm picking clothes that are very similar. And my husband said, didn't you just buy that? No, I didn't buy this. And I'm
Right.
going home, oh, here's the same shirt. That we're creatures of habit, and sometimes we relive trauma experiences over and over again,
Yeah.
unconsciously, and we attract people who are pedophiles. It's that lock and key. And it's not
Mm,
until we become conscious of what we're choosing and how we're living that we're able to stop the cycle. Like what you said, I'm a speaker, so I can talk about it in a very disconnected way. But when I slow you down,
yeah.
it allows you to realize, well, this was really a bad thing that happened, a
Yeah.
painful thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
those feelings that go with the experience are able to catch up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for breaking that down because
Yeah.
to your point of the energy, I can always tell you, I can walk into a room and tell you everybody in the room who is a survivor.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
I don't point them out.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do that, but I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you everybody in the room who is a survivor.
Yeah.
So then when you said, then when you explained that, I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Because the
That makes
body is a certain kind of way. You can feel the energy, right? In the body language and the spirit, you feel it because people
yep.
who've been through it can sense each other,
Yeah.
right? And when people tell their story, there's always that element of guilt or shame or control or fear that's in the story,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's important to just recognize that that goes with that experience of being powerless.
Yeah.
It does. It
That
does.
part.
Oh my goodness, that's a big part.
That
I
part.
remember, I was 7. I was a fighter. So my cousins are watching this. They'll say I was a fighter. But my cousins, or my brothers, I was a fighter. And I
Right.
remember being outside. We lived on 35 Dwight Street, and playing with this young adult who was developmentally disabled.
Hmm.
And I remember hiding, and I remember him saying, "Candy, you count." And I remember, okay, I'm gonna count. And I closed my eyes. And, you sit down, legs open, and my closed my eyes. His hands were outside my panties, and I remember
Oh no.
and I
Yeah.
remember getting up and going boom, 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 and then getting a rock and boom.
Yes.
And I remember running like hell,
Yeah.
fast as I could. And I remember running upstairs and they were like, why are you in the house? And I remember a couple minutes later, his mother came upstairs and he had a bloody forehead. And she was like, look what Candy did to my son. Da-da-da. And I was so ashamed. I could
Yeah.
not get it out what this person had done. Right?
Yeah.
Didn't penetrate me, didn't go inside my underwear. Just the idea of touching me, I knew was wrong.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say it. And my grandmother was like, why'd you hit him? My mother was there. And my mother was like, why'd you take Candy? And I couldn't say it. And my
Yeah.
grandmother said, it's like give me a chill, but she said, if he did it, my grandmother's a fighter too. If she hit him, he must have deserved it. And I was like, oh, and I was silent because I was so ashamed, so
Yeah.
embarrassed, right? And I had a cousin named Stina, and no one knew. I never would say it. And I remember being afraid of going outside. So I stayed in the house.
Mm.
And my cousin would say, what's going on? Why can't we play outside? And I told her, she said, well, if you can't play outside, my bad cousin, she's probably watching this, let's go on the roof and play on the roof. And if you're in the projects, you go to the roof because the roof is funny, all little pebbles. And I remember us throwing, rocks off the roof and thinking,
Uh-huh.
this is fun. And I was like, well, a whole bunch of rocks. I like the way it sounded. And 5 minutes later, I looked down. She was like, Candy, you threw a rock at me. It was his mama. Of my life on that one. But that
Oh
I was like, that's what you're doing? You throw rocks at people now.
my god. Oh my god.
The only person who knew what happened was my cousin Cena.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'll protect you. But just knowing that there was someone I could tell it to, it had to be
Yeah.
7 or 8 that I could tell it to who, whenever we went out, she sat with me in the front of the house. She was like, I got you. And she was the only one I could tell it to. Because I couldn't even tell it to my brothers. And I had a big
Yeah.
brother who was like, he fought too. But
Yeah,
shame that comes over girls and boys, right?
absolutely.
Oh my God, that sense of shame and that guilt, like, oh my God. I'm thinking when he came through the door with the blood, I was like, oh my God, he's bleeding. I heard him.
Yeah.
That guilt and that shame, and who's going to believe
Mhm.
me? And, because I was afraid I wasn't a perfect kid, but I was a nice kid. You
Right.
know, my mother's child. She ruined me and spoiled me. But, but even though it wasn't my fault, there was that shame. And I didn't tell her until an adult,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I remember saying, I'm glad you didn't say it because my mother would have killed him. you
Yeah.
know. And I never knew that, but I knew that my grandmother didn't play when it came to things. That I knew.
Yeah.
So he would go on berserk. I had a sense that she would have hurt him and then hurt her. That she was that kind of person.
Yeah.
So I rescued you.
And that just reminds me of, and guys, I'm gonna get back into the story in a moment, but
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that just reminds me of one of the reasons why kids are afraid to tell their parents that they've been violated or someone touched them, because they know that if their mom or their dad finds out about this, they will kill, like, say if it's their brother,
Yeah.
because it often happens in our families.
Mm-hmm.
Their mom and dad,
Thank you.
their dad will kill.
My cousin,
Yep.
brothers, there's fear and there's shame,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
And then if your mom or your dad kills that person, then they're going to jail for the rest of their lives, and then you won't have your mom or dad.
yeah. Or if you tell some, you might be removed from the house,
Or
or everybody know might not like you,
yep,
or you're gonna get in trouble for being fast, or being if you're a boy, you'll get labeled as gay or something. But people will
yes,
look at you differently, right? The
always.
moment they hear that, whoa, that happened to you. Like remember that little boy that was I forgot his name. He was abducted by these men, and then he came home. This was like maybe in the 80s. He came home, and everybody was excited. And then the men went to jail, went to trial, and they talked about how they sexually abused him. And then people started treating him differently.
Yeah, yeah,
I forgot his name, but
yeah. I don't remember his name. I remember the story, but I don't remember his name.
yeah, I forgot his name. So if you remember his name, he was
Yeah.
abducted by these two men, and when he left with this little boy who was also abducted, and he stopped them from raping him.
Hmm.
But something happens, especially in our community. Um, Boys don't talk about it, which is why I was so proud when Ice-T talked about his experience, and Little
Yeah,
Wayne talked about his experience. And he said it happened.
yeah,
I didn't want it to happen. Boys are victims of it.
yeah. They are, and
Yeah,
people don't think so, but they are as
yeah,
well. Yeah, because
absolutely.
people take advantage of little kids,
All day long,
predators.
all
Yep,
day long.
yep. And so, uh, fast forward 10 years to the age of 24, where I was coming home from getting my hair done on a Friday night, and I lived in an apartment all by myself. I thought I was the hit because I had my own apartment, had a good job, had my car, everything.
Hmm.
And so I was actually in college as well. I was going to Hopkins at the time. So I was just, I was doing my thing at 24. And so this particular night when I came home, instead of going to the club, I wasn't always saved, y'all, but instead of going to the club that night, I said, okay, I'm gonna go in here and write these papers for school, and just kind of thinking about what I'm gonna do when I get in the house as I'm walking up the path to get to the front door of the apartment building. And once I got there was a man standing to the left of me, pulling a mask over his head, and he had a gun in it.
Mm.
And he looked at me and he said, "You know what this is. Give me your purse. Now turn around and walk that way." And so I had just gotten saved in September. This happened in November. So the first thing I did was start reciting the 23rd Psalm, because I knew in that moment that the only person that could save me would be Jesus. And so I just
Mm.
began to recite the scripture, handed him my purse, and I did what he wanted me to do because my body told me to freeze, right?
Yeah,
Because our bodies automatically goes into survival mode on its own. It'll do it on its own.
absolutely. So
And
even
so in
yeah,
my freezing was doing everything that he said for me to do.
just survival kicked in. Because
Yeah.
even in fight, the way I fought and hit that guy in the head, and then I
Yes.
ran, that's flight, right?
Hmm.
And when we think we can run, or I can't fight back because I'm too powerless, then we freeze,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And when you mentioned that, and a couple of conversations ago about being powerless, I will never forget how powerless I felt with this experience. And so I'll continue on with the story. He marched me around to the back of the apartment building in the woods, and the whole time he's like walking behind me, and he's like, I'm begging and pleading for my life. And he's like cussing at me and just telling me to shut up and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, Jesus, I can't die like this. Please, please.
Mm.
What's going through my head is, oh my God, he's going to shoot me. He's going to kill me. He's going to leave me out in these woods for dead. They're not going to find me till Tuesday because I didn't show up for work. Like all this stuff was like going through my mind.
Yeah.
And so we get to a part, and a place in the woods, and he just says, stop right here. He walks around and he points the gun to my forehead.
Mm.
And I'm begging for my life, Candice. I'm like, please don't kill me. I go to school, I go to church, I have a good job. Please don't kill me. If you kill me, it's going to kill my mom. Please don't. Now I'm about to lose my life, and I'm thinking about my
Yeah.
mother.
But you humanized yourself so he can hear you. You
Yeah,
humanized yourself so he could see that I'm not just a piece. I'm not
yeah,
a vagina. I'm someone's daughter.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I matter.
And so he says, shut the up. And so I did. Why? Because I wanted to live.
Absolutely.
I wanted to live. And so from that point, I'm thinking, oh, he's just going to blow my head off and that's going to be it. He's going to leave me out here. But then he tells me to get down on my knees. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh no, he's going to shoot me execution style like they do in the movies. And they're going to find me on Tuesday. And again, all this is going through my head. And I'm like, oh, God, I can't die like this. I'm too young. I still have work to do. I still have a whole life to live. Please don't let him. All of this is like going through my mind in split seconds.
Yeah.
And it still never dawned on me what he was about to do.
Mm. Just take a moment. Just take a
Because we're
moment.
on the show,
Yeah.
I will just say he made me do some unmentionable things
Yeah.
on my knees with the gun to my head. And I did it because I wanted to live,
Yeah.
because I wanted to live. And my brain told me, freeze, do what he says, because this is the survival mode that we're in.
And I want to go home to my mother.
I want to go home.
Live. I wanted to go.
I want to live. I want to finish my life out. I want to do everything that I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And so after I did those things, again, I'm thinking he's just gonna, what more could he want? It never, Candice, when I tell you, it never dawned on me
Yeah.
until he said, take your clothes off.
Mm. Take a pause. Take another breath. Let's all take a breath together. Move the body a little bit, right? Because when we're victimized, we're still. And let the body know that you're not still,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
you're here with us, and we got you. Right? I'm swallowing. I want you to swallow. I'm just tapping on my chest just to
Mm-hmm.
so I can feel something.
Tapping. Yep.
Yeah, tapping on your chest just so you can feel something, right? And for some people at home who are also activated, tapping this way or tapping this way or just rubbing your chest or rubbing your arm just so you can feel something. Just
Mm-hmm.
how your arms feel with the touch. Right? People trying to really deregulate the
Yeah.
activation in the
Yeah.
body,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to slow down the sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight flight response, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're with her. And as she's seeing it and living it, we are seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I knew at that point, that this was going to be the worst thing that could ever happen to a woman or a girl. And so I just took everything out of the left side of my pants, my everything, my left leg out of everything. And then he proceeded to violate me in the worst way with a gun to my head.
Mm.
And I remember just, this was November, so it was really, really cold outside. But I just remember going numb. I didn't feel any
Disconnect.
cold air. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any pressure. I
Mm.
felt nothing. And then all of a sudden, this is what I call my God moment. This is a time when God came to see about me in this experience. It was if God had came down and just taken my spirit out of my body and just taken it up with him, because I had an aerial view of everything that was happening.
Disconnected, right?
Yep.
But when the
Every
body can escape, the mind escapes.
Yeah, yeah,
God will say, I just got checked out.
yep.
And then what happens is that once the brain knows how to do that once, check out, move you from the pain, it keeps getting you to check out from the pain.
Mm,
And then being present becomes hard for some victims or some survivors.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it took me, going to therapy and starting to do the work to help other survivors to understand that
Mm-hmm.
there's actually a clinical term for this, and this is dissociation, of course.
Mm-hmm.
For me, and my walk with Jesus, this was my Jesus moment, because he came
Mm-hmm.
to get me, because it was if he knew that he had this work for me to do. And in order for me to do this work to help other survivors heal, my spirit couldn't be damaged. Although my body was being damaged, my body was being violated, my spirit wasn't. Because he took my spirit up with him, and I could see everything. And then once the person was finished doing, what he felt he had to do,
Yeah.
um, I just remember um, God like popping, like letting me go, like popping my spirit back in my body. And I was just like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember him standing over top of me, and he was telling me, like, you better not scream. You better not go to the police. I know where you live, and I know what kind of car you drive. I will find you and I will kill you.
The threat, that fear, right?
Yep, that
So
fear.
that fear keeps you in this pattern of the trauma. Like what I said, I didn't go out. Only time I went
Yeah.
out was when I went on the roof until we threw the rocks down. That
Mm-hmm.
keeps you in a pattern of safety. I'm trying to be safe, right? Because you don't want to be that vulnerable ever again.
Yep. Ever again. And so, and then he ran off. And I just remember laying there like, you better get up and run. You still alive. Go now. Like my body turned into the
The flight.
run, the flight.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I did. I put one leg back into everything as best I could. And I ran back down the path the way that we came. And I remembered that when I saw him, when I handed him my purse, I eased my car keys in my coat pocket, because I was going to the house, so I had to have my keys out so I can get in. I remember easing my car keys in my coat pocket. So I ran back around to the car, and some cars were coming down the street, and I ran out to get help, but people just swerved around me and kept going. And so I jumped in the car and drove to a friend's house. Now, I don't remember seeing a red light, a stop sign, a
Mm-hmm.
person, a car, nothing. I
Yeah.
just remember driving and screaming, because I never screamed, I never fought. I just did exactly what he said to do. So that now he's away from me. All of the fear and the rage and the anger and everything was coming out of me as I was driving down the road. And so I was able to get to a friend's house who took me to my mom, who took me to the hospital.
Good breath. Just take a moment, right? Which is important that, and people don't realize how important it is to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
That they'll do a rape kit, and even if
Yeah.
you're not ready to testify, at least that evidence is there, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Or the
And that rape kit, that safe exam was grueling. because your body is literally a crime scene.
Yeah.
And they comb every crevice and crack and split in
Mhm.
hair and fingernail, everything, every part of your body for evidence
So it's
of a
another
crime.
invasion.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and this is the thing you don't hear on CSI, right? You
Yeah,
don't
no.
hear how there's another invasion or intrusion or
No.
a moment where you're out of control and you're vulnerable,
Yes.
right? Again, naked again.
Yes.
For some people, that makes the trauma even more complex because it's trauma upon trauma in a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just remember going back to my mom's house. I never went back to that apartment. My family moved me out of that apartment the very next day. One of my uncles drove a Mayflower tractor trailer. So they went up there and emptied my apartment the next day, and I never went back. I spent time
Mhm.
at my mom's house trying to recover. And I just remember going in, like, having some psychological issues,
Mhm.
which nobody ever really talks about, but I'm sure you've probably heard this, where
Absolutely.
because he told me not to tell anybody, not to go to the police, or scream. I screamed all the way down to my friend's house. I told my mom, who then in
Mhm.
turn took me to the hospital. So I
Okay.
did everything that he told me not to do.
You took your power back.
Yeah.
Unlike a Maya Angelou who got violated and didn't tell anyone but her brother. And it was her brother who told people he got killed. And she stopped speaking, thinking, I shouldn't
Yeah.
talk,
Yes. Yes.
right? This is
Yeah.
I'm going to drop my voice. But you decided to use your voice to get help and to empower you.
Yeah. And that led to me thinking that he knows that my car is parked right here in front of my mom's house, and that he was across the street on top of the apartment buildings
Mhm.
waiting to sniper me. So I stayed away from the windows. I stayed in the house. Like, you wouldn't go back outside.
Mhm. Mhm.
I stayed in the house at my mom's house. I stayed away from the windows. I slept in the middle of her bed. So I don't know. I guess I thought he would like reach up and grab me from under the bed or something. So I slept in the middle of the bed,
Mm.
and people would come and see me. Family and friends would come and see me, but I wouldn't walk them downstairs because there was
Yeah.
a window at the top of the door of my mom's house, and I was so afraid that he would be able to see me through that little space of a window out there and be able to shoot me. Like,
Yeah.
I always had this fear that he was going to find me and kill
Yeah.
me, like he said.
Absolutely. And that is trauma.
Yeah,
That's post. And for those who don't realize, sexual abuse is post traumatic stress disorder. It creates trauma that gets relived in the brain, a feeling of unsafety. And just like soldiers who go away, you're never quite sure what's going to happen next. And even though you can't prove that you're not safe, you just feel always unsafe.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
those aspects. So yeah, and you can never be safe enough. You can never, do enough to keep you safe. It disrupts your whole life.
yeah.
What helped you deal with all of that and be at this point today where you're the founder of Phynyx Ministries? Tell us what helped you.
The main thing that helped me was getting into the scriptures, reading my word, spending time with the Lord, and just asking Him for answers, just seeking His face for answers, because I didn't understand why this happened. And
Mhm.
then, okay, I'm still alive. You allowed me to stay alive. So, what is it that you want me to do with something as huge as this? There's got to be something. And
Mm.
so, one day in prayer, he revealed to me the entire vision for what is now Phynyx Ministries, which is our sexual assault wellness ministry for women
Mm.
ages 18 and older. And we've been serving women survivors of sexual violence for the past 10 years. Yeah,
It's the big stuff, y'all. Big stuff.
yes,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
for 10 years. And I had like an amazing support system.
Mm.
Mom and my family and my friends who were just there to support me every step
Oh,
of the way.
oh,
And that's huge. I know a lot of people may not have a support system, but having one is huge. And I also went to therapy. It took me a while to go to therapy, but
mhm.
I went to therapy.
Yeah,
And I tell people all the time, God plus therapy equals healing.
absolutely.
And I actually have that on the t-shirt.
We had next time. We had next
Because
time.
that's right. That's like so much. Yeah. And so
I love
um,
it.
I know that the combination of God and therapy is what helped me to get to this place of healing that I'm in now,
Mhm.
where I'm able to reach back and help others. There's no way I could still be bleeding on people and trying to help them through. That could just never
Mhm. Mhm.
happen.
It's that
And so
connection.
yeah, and so all of that was what helped me. And it took quite a few years. And
Mhm.
everyone's healing journey is different. For me, it took me about 15 years to actually get to a good place. Um, and there was some good days and there was some not so good days.
Mhm.
But I wanted to be healed. I wanted to be
Yeah.
whole. I was tired of being angry and tired of feeling sad and tired of just existing and not actually living. And so
Mhm.
I decided that okay, this is what I have to do.
You took back your power. You
Yeah,
took back your power. And for
yeah,
people who are hearing this, taking back your power begins the moment that you give yourself a voice. That
yes,
trauma happens, sexual abuse happens in isolation when you're alone.
it
But
does.
healing happens when you're in connection with people or with a higher power, whether you're Buddhist or Christian or Muslim or Jehovah's Witness. It happens when you're in connection and you let people be a safe space for you, because sexual abuse is a violation of safe space.
Yes.
Right? And it takes a while for you to do the work, but part of doing the work is connecting back to self, connecting to others, and really figuring out, like Ilana Van Zandt said, what is the work I need to do?
Yeah.
Right? What is the work I need to do so that I can have the life I deserve?
Mm, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Angela, how can people reach you? What's your email, phone number? How can they reach you? Because I know I've been to some amazing events that I've spoken at. How can people reach you so they can be part of Phynyx Ministries?
Absolutely. So I'm on all social media. Facebook, I'm under Angela D. Wharton. Instagram, I'm under at Angela underscore empowers.
Mm-hmm.
And you can reach me on my website, which is angeladwharton.com.
Love it. And for those who missed it, we're going to ask them to repeat it in 2 seconds. So get a pen, piece of paper, because she's going to repeat it again. Because if you're like me, you're like, oh my God, that was good information. Let me get a pen, piece of paper. So hurry up, hurry up. I'm going to also remind people, if you're looking for therapy, because Angela said that helped her in her process.
Mhm.
For many people who know, I have a provider directory for BIPOC providers. Um, Thank you. Called Color of Trauma and Healing. Color of Trauma and Healing. On it, we have providers who some take insurance, some don't, but we all specialize in forms of trauma. I'm also giving out free cards. There's a 24-hour hotline on the front where at 1 o'clock in the morning, if you're anxious, you're upset, something has happened to you, you can call someone and talk about it. That's part of taking back your power and healing. And on the back, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, probably can't because the light's so bright. It has 31 coping mechanisms on how you can deal with trauma, from journaling, from praying, to calling someone, to doing tapping, to doing hugs, to doing mild pendulums, to taking deep breaths, to gurgling, to humming, but things that put you back in the body always help regulate the system. So, Angela, repeat your information again so that people who didn't have a pen or a piece of paper or their cell phones can write it down again. How can they reach you?
They can reach me on Facebook under Angela D. Wharton. I'm on Instagram at Angela underscore empowers. And you can also reach me on my website, which is angeladwharton.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Angela, for being here. And if you like this video, like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you, Miss Angela, and hopefully we'll see you soon in another interview.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Bye.